The Tupolev Tu-154 is a three-engine medium-range narrow-body airliner designed in the mid-1960s and manufactured by Tupolev, a workhorse of Soviet and Russian airlines for several decades. It carried half of all passengers flown by Aeroflot and its subsidiaries, remaining the standard domestic route airliner of Russia and former Soviet states until the mid-2000s. It was exported to 17 non-Russian airlines and used as head of state transport by the air forces of several countries. With a cruising speed of 975 kilometers per hour, the Tu-154 is one of the fastest civilian aircraft in use and has a range of 5,280 kilometers, capable of operating from unpaved and gravel airfields with only basic facilities. It was widely used in the extreme Arctic conditions of Russia's northern, eastern regions where other airliners were unable to operate. Originally designed for a 45,000 hours service life but capable of 80,000 hours with upgrades, it is expected to continue in service until 2016, although noise regulations have restricted flights to Western Europe and other regions. In January 2010, Russian flag carrier Aeroflot announced the retirement of its Tu-154 fleet after 40 years, with the last scheduled flight being Aeroflot Flight 736 from Ekaterinburg to Moscow on the 31st of December 2009. Since 1968 there have been 39 fatal incidents involving the Tu-154, most of which were caused either by factors unrelated to the aircraft, or by its extensive use in demanding conditions. Development. The Tu-154 was developed to meet Aeroflot's requirement to replace the jet-powered Tu-104, the Antonov An-10, Ukraine, and the Ilyushin Il-18 turboprops. The requirements called for either a payload capacity of 16 to 18 tons with a range of 2,850–4,000 kilometers while cruising at 900 kilometers per hour, or a payload of 5.8 tons with a range of 5,800–7,000 kilometers while cruising at 850 kilometers per hour. A takeoff distance of 2,600 meters at maximum takeoff weight was also stipulated as a requirement. Conceptually similar to the British Hawker Siddeley Trident, which first flew in 1962, and the American Boeing 727, which first flew in 1963. The medium-range Tu-154 was marketed by Tupolev at the same time as Ilyushin was marketing the long-range Ilyushin Il-62. The Soviet Ministry of Aircraft Industry chose the Tu-154 as it incorporated the latest in Soviet aircraft design and best met Aeroflot's anticipated requirements for the 1970s and 1980s. The first project chief was Sergei Yeager. In 1964, Dmitry S. Markov assumed the position. In 1975, the project lead role was turned over to Alexander S. Shengart. The Tu-154 first flew on the 4th of October 1968. The first deliveries to Aeroflot were in 1970, with freight services beginning in May 1971 and passenger services in February 1972. There was still limited production of the 154M model as of January 2009, despite previous announcements of the end of production in 2006. The last serial Tu-154 was delivered to the Russian Defense Ministry on 19 February 2013. 1025 Tu-154s have been built, 214 of which are still in service as of the 14th of December 2009. In January 2013, the Aviacorps factory announced that it was about to deliver a new Tu-154M to the Russian Ministry of Defense, equipped with upgraded avionics, a VIP interior and a communications suite. The factory has 4 unfinished hulls in its inventory which can be completed if new orders are received. Design: the Tu-154 is powered by 3 rear-mounted low-bypass turbofan engines arranged similarly to those of the Boeing 727, but it is slightly larger than its American counterpart. Both the 727 and the Tu-154 use an S-duct for the middle engine. The original model was equipped with Kuznetsov NK8-2 engines, which were replaced with Soloviev D3 OKU-154 in the Tu-154M. All Tu-154 aircraft models have a relatively high thrust-to-weight ratio, which gave excellent performance at the expense of poorer fuel efficiency. This became an important factor in later decades as fuel costs grew. The flight deck is fitted with conventional dual-yoke control columns. Flight control surfaces are hydraulically operated. The cabin of the Tu-154, although of the same 6 abreast seating layout, gives the impression of an oval interior, with a lower ceiling than is common on Boeing and Airbus airliners. The passenger cabin accommodates 128 passengers in a 2-class layout and 164 passengers in single-class layout, and up to 180 passengers in high-density layout. The layout can be modified to what is called a winter version, where some seats are taken out and a wardrobe is installed for passenger coats. The passenger doors are smaller than on its Boeing and Airbus counterparts. Luggage space in the overhead compartments is very limited. Like the Tupolev Tu-134, the Tu-154 has a wing swept back at 35 degrees at the quarter-chord line. The British Hawker Siddeley Trident has the same sweep-back angle, while the Boeing 727 has a slightly smaller sweep-back angle of 32 degrees. The wing also has anhedral, which is a distinguishing feature of Russian low-wing airliners designed during this era. Most Western low-wing airliners, such as the contemporary Boeing 727, have dihedral. The anhedral means that Russian airliners have poor lateral stability compared to the Western counterparts, but also have weaker Dutch roll tendencies, considerably heavier than its predecessor Soviet-built airliner the Ilyushin Il-18. The Tu-154 was equipped with an oversized landing gear to reduce ground load, enabling it to operate from the same runways. The aircraft has 2 6-wheel main bogies fitted with large low-pressure tires that retract into pods extending from the trailing edges of the wings, plus a 2-wheel nose gear unit. Soft oleo struts provide a much smoother ride on bumpy airfields than most airliners, which only very rarely operate on such poor surfaces. The original requirement was to have a 3-person flight crew, captain, first officer and flight engineer, as opposed to 4/5-person crew on other Soviet airliners. It became evident that a 4th crew member, a navigator, was still needed, and a seat was added on production aircraft. Although his workstation was compromised due to the limitations of the original design, navigators are no longer trained, and this profession will become obsolete with the retirement of older Soviet-era planes. The latest variant includes an NVU-B3 Doppler navigation system, a triple autopilot, which provides an automatic ILS approach according to ICAO Category 2 weather minima, and auto-throttle, a Doppler drift and speed measure system, KURS MP, radio navigation suite and others. A stability and control augmentation system improves handling characteristics during manual flight. Modern upgrades normally include a TCAS, GPS and other modern systems, mostly American or EU-made. Early versions of the Tu-154 cannot be modified to meet the current Stage 3 noise regulations and are banned from flying where those regulations are in force, such as European Union variants. Many variants of this airliner have been built, like its Western counterpart, the 727. Many of the Tu-154s in service have been hush-kitted, and some converted to freighters. Tu-154 production started in 1970, while first passenger flight was performed at the 9th of February 1972. Powered by Kuznetsov-NK-8-2 turbofans, it carried 164 passengers. About 42 were built. Tu-154-A, the first upgraded version of the original Tu-154, the A model, in production since 1974, added center section fuel tanks and more emergency exits, while engines were upgraded to higher thrust Kuznetsov-NK-82U. Other upgrades include automatic flaps, slats and stabilizer controls and modified avionics. Max takeoff weight 94,000 kilograms. There were 15 different interior layouts for the different domestic and international customers of the airplane, seating between 144 and 152 passengers. The easiest way to tell the A model from the base model is by looking at the spike at the junction of the fin and tail. This is a fat bullet on the A model rather than a slender spike on the base model. Tu-154-B, as the original Tu-154 and Tu-154-A suffered wing cracks after a few years in service, a version with a new, stronger wing, designated Tu-154-B, went into production in 1975. It also had an extra fuel tank in fuselage, extra emergency exits in the tail, and the maximum takeoff weight increased to 98,000 kilograms. Also important to Aeroflot was that the increased passenger capacity led to lower operating costs. As long as the airplane had the NK-82U engines, the only way to improve the economics of the airplane was to spread costs across more seats. The autopilot was certified for YCAO Category 2 automatic approaches. Most previously built Tu-154 and Tu-154-A were also modified into this variant, with the replacement of the wing. Max takeoff weight increased to 96,000 kilograms. 111 were built. Aeroflot wanted this version for increased revenue on domestic routes. It carried 160 passengers. This version also had some minor modifications to fuel system, avionics, air conditioning, landing gear, a minor modernization of Tu-154-B1. The airplane was designed to be converted from the 160-passenger version to a 180-passenger version by removing the galley. The procedure took about 2.5 hours. Some of the earlier Tu-154-B modified to that standard. Max takeoff weight increased to 98,000 kilograms, later to 100,000 kilograms. 311 aircraft were built, including VIP versions. A few of them are still in use. Tu-154S. The Tu-154S is an all-cargo freighter version of the Tu-154-B, using a strengthened floor, and adding a forward cargo door on the port side of the fuselage. The airplane could carry 9 Soviet PAV-3 pallets. Max payload 20,000 kilograms. There were plans for 20 aircraft, but only 9 aircraft were converted, 2 from Tu-154 model and 7 from Tu-154-B model. Trials were held in the early 1980s and the aircraft was authorized regular operations in 1984. By 1997 all had been retired. Tu-154M. The Tu-154M and Tu-154M Lux are the most highly upgraded versions, which first flew in 1982 and entered mass production in 1984. It uses more fuel-efficient Soloviev D30 Ku-154 turbofans. Together with significant aerodynamic refinement, this led to much lower fuel consumption and therefore longer range, as well as lower operating costs. The aircraft has new double-slotted flaps, with an extra 36-degree position, which allows reduction of noise on approach. It also has a relocated auxiliary power unit and numerous other improvements. Maximum takeoff weight increased first to 100,000 kilograms, then to 102,000 kilograms. Some aircraft are certified to 104,000 kilograms. About 320 were manufactured. Mass production ended in 2006, though limited manufacturing continued as of January 2009. No new airframes have been built since the early 1990s, and production since then involved assembling aircraft from components on hand. Chinese Tu-154MD electronic intelligence aircraft carries a large-size synthetic aperture radar under its mainframe. Cosmonaut Trainer. This was a Salon VIP aircraft modified to train cosmonauts to fly the Buran reusable spacecraft, the Soviet equivalent of the U.S. Space Shuttle. The Tu-154 was used because the Buran required a steep descent, and the Tu-154 was capable of replicating that. The cabin featured trainee workstations, one of which was the same as the Buran's flight deck. The forward baggage compartment was converted into a camera bay, because the aircraft was also used to train cosmonauts in observation and photographic techniques. Tu-154M on monitoring aircraft. Germany modified one of the Tu-154s it had on hand from the former East German Air Force into an observation airplane. This airplane was involved with the open skies inspection flights. It was converted at the Elbe aircraft plant in Dresden, and flew in 1996. After 24 monitoring missions, it was lost in a mid-air collision in 1997. The Russians also converted a Tu-154M to serve as an open skies monitoring aircraft. They used the Tu-154M Lk-1 and converted it to a Tu-154M on. When the aircraft is not flying over North America, it is used to ferry cosmonauts around. China is also believed to have converted one Tu-154 to an electronic countermeasures aircraft. Design of this variant started in 1994, but the first aircraft were not delivered until 1998. It is an upgraded version with Western avionics, including the flight management computer, GPS, EGPWS, TCAS, and other modern systems. The airplane could carry up to 157 passengers. The cabin featured an automatic oxygen system and larger overhead bins. Only 3 were produced, as payment of debts owed by Russia to Slovakia. 3 aircraft were delivered in 1998 to Slovak Airlines, and sold back to Russia in 2003. A Tu-154 converted into a testbed for alternative fuels. It first flew in 1988 and was used until the fall of the Soviet Union, after which it was put in storage. Initial designation of the Tu-154M. Proposed shortened version of Tu-154. Operators. Current operators. As of June 2015, there are 56 Tupolev Tu-154 aircraft of all variants still in civil or military service. The remaining operators are, as of the 20th of February 2011, in Iran. All the remaining numbers of the Tu-154 were grounded after two recent incidents. Former operators. Former civil operators: Afghanistan, Ariana, Afghan Airlines; Albania, Albanian Airlines; Armenia, Armenian Airlines; Azerbaijan, Azerbaijan Airlines; Turan Air; Bosnia and Herzegovina, B&H Airlines; Bulgaria Air via Balkan, Bulgarian Airlines; BH Air, Bulgarian Air Charter; Government of Bulgaria; EMAS Air, People's Republic of China; Civil Aviation Administration of China; China Northwest Airlines; China Southwest Airlines; China United Airlines; China Xinjiang Airlines; Sichuan Airlines; Cuba Cubana; Czech Republic CSA Czech Airlines; Government of Czech Republic; Czechoslovakia CSA Czechoslovak Airlines; Government of Czechoslovakia; Djibouti Dalo Airlines; Egypt Egypt Air; Georgia Air Georgia; Transair Georgia; Hungary Malev Hungarian Airlines; Panan Airlines; Iran Bonair; Caspian Airlines; Hesa; Iran Air Tours; Kish Air; Mayan Air; Tabang Air; Kazakhstan Aeroservice Kazakhstan; Atirau Airways; Kaz Air Trans; Kazakhstan Airlines; Sayakat Airlines; Kyrgyzstan Air Kyrgyzstan; Air Manus; Kyrgyzstan Airlines; Libya Libyan Arab Airlines; Macedonia Avio Impex; Macedonian Air Service; Macedonian Airlines; Moldova Aerocom; Air Moldova; Mongolia MIA Team Mongolian Airlines; Nicaragua Aeronica; Pakistan Pakistan International Airlines; Shaheen Air; Poland Lot Polish Airlines; Romania Government of Romania; TAROM; Russia Abakan Avia; Aeroflot; Aerorent; Airlines 400; ALAK; Avian Ergo; Avial; Aviaprad; Baikal Airlines; Bal-Bashkirian Airlines; Burul; Chernomor Avia; Continental Airways; Donavia; Encor; Jet 2000; KD Avia; Kogalim Avia; Crossair; Cuban Airlines; Mavial Magadan Airlines; Nordavia; Omsk Avia; Oranair; Perm Airlines; Palet Airlines; Pulkovo Aviation Enterprise; Rossiya; Russian Sky Airlines; Siani Airlines; S7 Airlines; Sakha Avia; Samara Airlines; Sabavia Trans; Tatarstan Airlines; Ural Airlines; Uter Aviation; Vim Airlines; Vladivostok Air; Vnukovo Airlines; Jakusha Airlines; Slovakia Slovak Airlines; Somalia Air Somalia; Syria Syrian Air; Tajikistan Tajik Air; Turkey Active Air; Green Air; Holiday Airlines; Ukraine Air Ukraine; Odessa Airlines; Yemen Ali Emdar. Former military operators: Armenia Armenian Air Force; Bulgaria Bulgarian Air Force 154B retired 1988, 154M retired April 2010, replaced by A319CFM; Cuba Cuban Air Force; Czechoslovakia Czechoslovak Air Force; Czech Republic Czech Air Force; East Germany East German Air Force; Germany German Air Force; Mongolia Mongolian Air Force; Poland Polish Air Force 1-154M was retired in 2011, 1-154M crashed in 2010. Turkmenistan Military of Turkmenistan 2-154B2 retired. Ukraine Ukrainian Air Force; Soviet Union Soviet Air Force; Uzbekistan Military of Uzbekistan. Incidents and accidents. As of January 20 2011. Since 1970 there have been 110 serious incidents involving the Tu-154, and 69 hull losses, 30 of which did not involve fatalities. Of the fatal incidents, 5 resulted from terrorist or military action, several from poor runway conditions in winter, cargo overloading in the lapse of post-Soviet federal safety standards, and mid-air collisions due to faulty air traffic control. Other incidents resulted from mechanical problems, running out of fuel on unscheduled routes, pilot errors, and cargo fires. Several accidents remain unexplained. The Tu-154 is described as having an average safety record considering its length of service and heavy use in demanding conditions where other airliners are unable to operate. On January 2, 2011, Russia's Federal Transport Oversight Agency advised airlines to stop using remaining examples of the Tu-154 until the fatal fire incident in Surgut had been investigated. Its operation in Iran ceased in February 2011 due to a number of crashes and incidents involving the type. This grounding compounded the effects of U.S. embargo on civil aircraft parts, substantially decreasing the number of airworthy aircraft in the Iranian civil fleet. In 2010 there were 2 fatal losses of the Tu-154 due to pilot error and/or weather conditions. Following these accidents, in March 2011 the Russian Federal Bureau of Aviation recommended a withdrawal of remaining Tu-154 megaseconds from service. In December 2010, Uzbekistan Airways also declared that it will cease to operate Tu-154s from 2011. List preserved aircraft. CCCP-85020 at State Aviation Museum. CCCP-85040 early versions of Tu-154. Preserved at Kryvyi Rih Aviation Institute. U-85581 Tu-154B2 preserved on the grounds of Minsk National Airport in Belarus. Specifications. In popular culture, Tu-154's interior and exterior as the most common airliner appeared in many Soviet and Russian films. Aircrew is the 1979 action film revolving around the exploits of a Soviet Tu-154 crew on an international flight, the first Soviet film in the disaster genre.